The fluorescent lights hum at 2:47 a.m., irregular and tired, like everything else in St. Catherine's emergency department. Dr. Sarah Chen stands at the supply closet sorting IV bags. Saline left, Ringer's lactate right, dextrose bottom shelf. Her hands move with mechanical precision, each bag placed with exact spacing, labels facing forward, the kind of order that speaks of discipline deeper than hospital training. The linoleum beneath her feet is scuffed gray from 1,000 gurneys, 1,000 crises, 1,000 decisions made in seconds. The air smells like disinfectant and coffee 3 hours past fresh. She's not suturing, not diagnosing, not consulting, she's sorting. 6 months ago, she was the youngest attending trauma surgeon in Boston. 4 months ago, a patient died on her table. 3 months ago, the medical board stripped her surgical privileges, pending investigation. Now she's a clinical assistant, a nurse without the title, a doctor in name only, wearing scrubs but forbidden from making a single medical decision above checking vitals. Chen, we're out of coffee in the lounge. Dr. Marcus Webb doesn't look up from his tablet. 42, chief resident, 3 years her junior in actual medical experience, but a lifetime ahead in institutional standing. His voice carries the casual dismissiveness of someone who's never had to fight for respect. Sarah doesn't respond, finishes the last bag, walks past him toward the break room. Thank you would be nice, he mutters to her back. She fills the coffee maker. The grounds smell burnt. Everything here smells burnt. Through the window, she watches the ambulance bay. A rig pulls in, lights silent. Probably stable. The noise comes when it's bad. Chen, she turns. Webb again. Standing in the doorway with that expression he wears when he wants something beneath him done. Gurney in Bay 3 needs fresh sheets. Patient discharged 20 minutes ago. She nods, walks past him. He smells like expensive cologne and unearned confidence. Bay 3 still has blood on the floor. A few drops near the IV stand. Someone else's job, technically, but she finds the mop anyway. Queens it, strips the gurney, replaces the sheets with hospital corners tight enough to bounce a quarter. Old habit. Damn, Chen, you former military or something? Nurse practitioner Amy Rodriguez stands at the bay entrance, arms crossed, half smiling. 28, confident, one of the few who doesn't treat Sarah like a ghost haunting the department. Something like that, Sarah says. She's said it so many times it sounds true. Amy walks closer, watching Sarah's hands smooth the final corner with practiced efficiency. You know, my brother was Army, deployed twice, makes his bed exactly like that. Can't help himself. Sarah doesn't respond, drops the soiled linens in the biohazard bin. Her left hand moves unconsciously to her right wrist, fingers tracing a thin scar hidden beneath her watch. Shrapnel, Kandahar province, another lifetime. Anyway, Amy continues, you're wasted on grunt work. Everyone knows it. Everyone also knows why I'm here. Yeah, well, I read the incident report. Wasn't your fault. Post-op bleed, missed by the entire surgical team during rounds. You just happened to be the one holding responsibility when it went critical. Sarah picks up the mop bucket. Doesn't matter what I think. Matters what's true. Not in medicine. Not anymore. She walks past Amy, back toward the supply closet. The charge nurse, Patricia Kim, 56 and carved from institutional stone, doesn't look up from her station. Chen, pharmacy delivery came. Needs logging. Sarah sets down the mop, takes the clipboard. 43 medications, all requiring manual verification against the digital system because the hospital software is 2 decades old and held together with grant money and prayers. She works methodically, each entry precise, no shortcuts, no assumptions. Halfway through, the PA system crackles. Trauma activation, ETA, 4 minutes. Multi-vehicle collision, 3 critical. The department transforms. Lights seem brighter, voices sharper. Personnel moving with choreographed chaos. The controlled emergency response drilled into muscle memory. Sarah keeps logging medications. Webb rushes past, pulling on a trauma gown. Dr. Ellen Vasquez, the attending, follows, already barking orders into her phone. Competent, experienced, everything Sarah used to be. Chen, finish that later. We need hands for crowd control when families arrive. Crowd control. Role. 6 months ago, she would have been leading the trauma team. Now she directs grieving relatives to waiting rooms. She sets down the clipboard, moves toward the ambulance bay. The doors burst open. First gurney, male mid-30s, GCS 7, intubated in the field, paramedic rattling off vitals while running alongside. BP 80/40, heart rate 140, significant chest trauma, probable hemothorax. The team swarms. Vasquez directing, Webb assisting, 2 nurses flanking. They disappear into Trauma Bay 1. The doors sling shut. Sarah stands outside, watching through the window. Her hands flex involuntarily, muscle memory reaching for instruments she's no longer allowed to hold. Second gurney arrives. Female, 20s, conscious but screaming. Compound fracture, left femur. Orthopedics gets paged. That team rushes her to Bay 2. Third gurney, teenager, 16, maybe 17. Male, unconscious, massive facial trauma. Blood everywhere, but his chest rises and falls, still breathing. The paramedic looks exhausted. Found him in the back seat. Wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Vitals stable but neurostatus unknown. Pupils were equal and reactive 5 minutes ago. Vasquez pokes her head out of Bay 1. Take him to 3. Stabilize, we'll assess when we're clear here. A junior resident, Dr. Patel, barely 2 months out of medical school, nods frantically and starts directing the gurney. Sarah watches them wheel the kid past. Something's wrong. She can't articulate it, can't point to a specific vital sign or visible injury. But 15 years of emergency medicine, 8 of them in field hospitals, where you learn to read death before it arrived, creates an instinct that doesn't require data. That kid's dying. She watches them settle him in Bay 3. Patel connects monitors. The numbers look stable. Heart rate 88, BP 110/70. Oxygen saturation 96%. But Sarah sees the breathing pattern. Shallow, too regular. The kind of compensation that comes right before collapse. She steps closer to the window. Patel's examining the facial trauma, calling for X-ray, checking pupils again, following protocol, doing everything by the book. Sarah's eyes go to the kid's neck. The position of his trachea, slightly deviated, just barely. The kind of thing you miss if you're not looking, if you haven't seen it 100 times in worse conditions. Her jaw tightens. Tension pneumothorax, building pressure, the lungs collapsing, mediastinum shifting, minutes, maybe less. Patel doesn't see it. He's focused on the obvious injuries, the facial trauma demanding attention. Sarah's hand goes to the trauma bay door. Stops. She has no authority here, no credentials. If she intervenes and she's wrong, it's over. Not just her career, her existence. But if she doesn't, and she's right. She watches the monitor, heart rate climbing, 95, 102, 108. The kid's still unconscious, doesn't know he's suffocating from the inside. Sarah closes her eyes, breathes once, opens them, pushes through the door. Dr. Patel. He looks up, annoyed. Chen, I've got this. Check for tension pneumo. His sats are fine. Now, tracheal deviation, paradoxical breathing pattern. You have maybe 2 minutes. Patel stares at her, then at the monitor. Heart rate 115. I said I've got this. Sarah doesn't move. Do a needle decompression. Second intercostal stace, mid-clavicular line. Now. Are you seriously trying to practice medicine right now? You're not even. The monitor alarms. Heart rate 140. BP dropping. 90/50. The kid's eyes flutter. His body jerks once. Shit. Patel fumbles for his stethoscope. Sarah's already moving. Grabs the crash cart. Pulls it to bedside. Finds a 14-gauge needle. Still in sterile packaging. Chen, stop. She rips open the packaging. Get Vasquez, now. Patel hesitates. The monitor screams. Heart rate 160. BP 70/40. He runs. Sarah looks at the kid. 16, 17. Someone's son. She places her fingers on his chest. Finds the landmark. Second rib, mid-clavicular line. The exact spot where trapped air is crushing his lung, collapsing his vessels, killing him. She raises the needle. Behind her, the door slams open. Chen. Step away from that patient. Vasquez voice. Command tone. Absolute authority. Sarah doesn't move. The needle hovers 1 inch from the kid's chest. The monitor. Heart rate 170. BP 60/30. Sarah. Vasquez again. Quieter. Almost pleading. You do this. You're done. Completely. You'll never practice medicine again. Sarah's hand doesn't shake, not this time. She inserts the needle, swift, precise, 45-degree angle, through skin, through intercostal muscle, through parietal pleura. A hiss, audible, immediate, trapped air escaping. The kid gasps, a real breath. Deep, reflexive. The monitor calms, heart rate dropping, 150, 130, 110, BP rising, 80 over 50, 95 over 60. Sarah steps back, drops the needle in the sharps container, turns to face Vasquez. The attending's face is unreadable. Fury and relief fighting for dominance. "Get out," Vasquez says quietly. Sarah nods, walks past her, out of the trauma bay, through the ED, past Webb, past Amy, past Patricia. No one speaks. She reaches the locker room, opens her locker, sits on the bench. Her hands rest on her knees, steady, no tremor. She saved him. She knows she did, and it doesn't matter. The on-call room is 11 feet by 8, single bed, thin mattress. Gray blanket that smells like industrial detergent and exhaustion. Sarah lies on her back, eyes open, staring at the ceiling tiles. Water stain in the corner, shaped like something she refuses to interpret. She's counted the acoustic perforations, 1,847 in the visible section. The kind of thing you do when sleep doesn't come. Her watch reads 4:16 a.m. Outside, the ED continues its rhythm. Muffled voices, distant alarms, someone laughing at the nurse's station. The world turns. Crises resolve or don't. The hospital breathes without her. She breathes with it. Her right hand rests on her stomach, left hand on her chest, monitoring her own rhythm. Heart rate slow, respirations deep. The body calm even when the mind refuses stillness. The needle decompression plays in a loop. The hiss of escaping air, the kid's gasping breath, Vasquez's face. "Get out." She's been dismissed before. Forward Operating Base Salerno, Camp Bastion. Landstuhl Regional Medical Center. Never for saving someone, usually for being too effective at it. Sarah closes her eyes. The flashback comes without warning. Not a memory, a sensation. Heat first. Afghanistan heat. The kind that makes your lungs ache with each breath. Then sound, rotors, the Black Hawk coming in fast, the crew chief screaming over rotor wash. 60 seconds. Multiple casualties, mass cal event. She's younger, 29. Captain Sarah Chen, MD. Forward surgical team. Kandahar, trauma surgeon. The best they had because everyone else rotated out or broke under the weight. 4 patients hit the tent simultaneously. IED strike on patrol convoy. 2 soldiers, 1 interpreter, 1 child who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Wrong place. Afghanistan was all wrong places. She's moving between tables. Clamps, suction, pressure. Her hands inside a 19-year-old's chest cavity doing open cardiac massage because there's no time for anything else, no room for hesitation. "I need 2 units O-neg, now. Ma'am, we're out. And find some." She doesn't yell, doesn't need to. Command voice. The one that makes people move before their brain processes why. The heart beats once under her fingers, twice. Stops. She squeezes. Manual. Rhythmic. Keeping him alive through pure physical will. Someone else is screaming. Another table. The interpreter. Sucking chest wound. Her physician assistant is working it, but he's 23 and this is his 4th month in country, and his hands shake despite his training. Ellis. Needle decomp. 2nd intercostal. "I can't find the landmark. Feel for the rib. Follow it anterior. Between 2nd and 3rd. Now." She's still doing cardiac massage. The soldier's heart won't start. Won't stop. Caught between states, waiting for her decision. She looks at his face. Freckles, red hair. Tennessee, she thinks, or Kentucky. Somewhere with trees and seasons. "Ma'am, he's gone," her anesthesiologist says quietly. "He's not gone until I say he's gone." She squeezes. Again. Again. The interpreter stops screaming. Ellis got the needle in. The hiss. The gasp. Same sound. 16 years later. Different chest. Same desperation. Sarah looks back at the soldier. At Tennessee. His heart is still. Her hands are inside him, but was already somewhere else. Someplace she can't follow. She knows the exact moment. Every surgeon does. The moment the body becomes a body. When personhood leaves and all that remains is tissue and memory. Time of death. 08:47, she says. Steps back. Blood to her elbows. Her gown soaked through. Hands steady despite everything. She moves to the next table. The child, 7 years old. Shrapnel in the abdomen. She operates for 6 hours straight. Saves him. The soldier from Tennessee goes home in a box. She goes back to her bunk that night and doesn't sleep for 48 hours. Sarah opens her eyes. The on-call room. St. Catharines, Boston, 2024. Not Kandahar. Not 2008. Her heart rate is elevated. 95. Her hands are clenched. She releases them deliberately. Finger by finger. The breathing technique. 4 counts in. Hold 7. 8 counts out. The army taught her to survive. A surgeon taught her to save. The therapist at Walter Reed taught her how to exist in the space between. Most days it works. She sits up, checks her watch. 4:34 a.m. 18 minutes lost to the past. There's a knock at the door. Yeah. Amy's voice muffled through cheap wood. You awake? I'm awake. The door cracks. Amy's face appears. She looks uncertain, like she's approaching something fragile. Can I come in? It's not my room. Amy enters anyway. Sits on the edge of the bed. Studies Sarah carefully in the dim light. You were talking in your sleep. Sarah says nothing. You said a name. Tennessee. And something in another language. Pashto, I think. Sarah's jaw tightens. I don't speak Pashto. You sure? Because it sounded. I don't speak Pashto. Amy raises her hands in surrender. Okay. Silence. 30 seconds. A minute. The fluorescent bulb hums its irregular rhythm. Amy. My brother served 3 tours. Army, infantry. When he came back, he couldn't do crowds anymore. Couldn't sleep. Had this thing where he'd check exits in every room. Every single room. Restaurant, church, grocery store. Always counting exits. Always planning escape routes. Sarah looks at her. Why are you telling me this? Because you just did it. When you walked in here earlier, you looked at the door, the window, the vent. Counted them. I saw your eyes move. Situational awareness isn't a pathology. I didn't say it was. Amy leans forward. Sarah, where did you serve? I didn't. Then where did you learn to do what you did tonight? Because I've worked with a lot of doctors, good ones, great ones. No one moves like you. No one thinks like you. That wasn't medical school. That was something else entirely. Sarah stands, walks to the small sink, splashes water on her face. The cold helps, always does, grounds her in the present. When she speaks, her voice is flat. I went to Johns Hopkins, residency at Mass General, trauma fellowship at Penn. That's where I learned. And the needle decompression in under 5 seconds? Without hesitation? On a patient you weren't even assigned to? Pattern recognition. Bullshit. Sarah turns. Amy's standing now too. Not angry, just certain. I don't know what you think you know. I know you have scars. I saw them when you were changing last week. Shrapnel pattern. Blast injury. I know you move through the ED like it's a tactical space. I know you can assess a trauma patient in under 10 seconds and you're right every single time. I know you don't flinch at blood, or screaming, or chaos. And I know that's not normal, Sarah. Not even for trauma surgeons. Sarah's hands rest on the sink edge, gripping, knuckles white. Amy, let it go. Why? What are you hiding? I'm not. Then just tell me. Because whatever it is, it can't be worse than what happened with the malpractice case. It can't be worse than sorting IV bags when you could be saving lives. Sarah turns to face her. Her voice drops, quiet, dangerous. You want to know where I learned? Fine. I learned in a tent, in the desert, in a place where people came in pieces, and I put them back together with whatever I had. I learned when I was 26 and responsible for 50 casualties in 6 hours. I learned when there was no attending to call, no backup, no protocol, just me and my hands, and the decision between who lives and who doesn't. Amy stares, processing. You were deployed. I was a lot of things. How long? Long enough. And you never told anyone here? Why? Sarah's hand goes unconsciously to her wrist, the scar beneath the watch. Because I left that person over there. She doesn't exist here. Except she does. She just saved a kid's life. And now I'm finished. You understand? Vasquez saw me practice medicine without clearance. That's it. I'm done. Amy shakes her head. You saved him. Doesn't matter. It should. Welcome to reality. The silence stretches. Sarah moves past Amy toward the door. Where are you going? Home. Shifts over. Sarah, thank you. You for your concern, Amy. I mean that, but there are things you don't understand, things I can't explain. She opens the door. Amy's voice stops her. Tennessee, the name you said. Was he a patient? Sarah doesn't turn around. He was a kid, 19, from Nashville. Wanted to be a teacher when he got home. What happened to him? I couldn't save him. But you tried. I always try. She walks out. The locker room is empty when Sarah changes back into civilian clothes. Jeans, t-shirt, jacket, the uniform of someone trying to disappear into normal life. Her locker holds a small photo tucked in the back. She doesn't look at it often. Doesn't need to. The image is burned into memory. Forward Surgical Team, Kandahar, 2008, 12 people, young, smiling. Some of them already dead when the photo was taken. They just didn't know it yet. Sarah's in the back row, captain's bars visible. Clean uniform, eyes clear and focused. She barely recognizes herself. She closes the locker without touching the photo. The walk to the parking garage takes 4 minutes. Cold air cuts through her jacket. November in Boston. The sky, that pre-dawn gray that's neither night nor morning, just absence. Her car is a 10-year-old Honda. Reliable, invisible, perfect for someone who doesn't want attention. She sits in the driver's seat, doesn't start the engine immediately. Her phone buzzes. Text message. Unknown number. She opens it. Captain Chen. It's been a long time. We need to talk. JM. Her blood goes cold. JM. Major James Morrison. Her commanding officer. Kandahar. The last person she spoke to before she left the army. Before everything fell apart and she rebuilt herself into someone unrecognizable. She stares at the message. Her thumb hovers over the keyboard. Doesn't reply. Deletes the message. Starts the car. Drives home through empty streets, the city still sleeping, and tries not to think about the fact that ghosts don't send text messages, which means Major Morrison is alive, and he knows where she is. Sarah doesn't sleep when she gets home. She sits in her apartment, 5th floor, 1 bedroom, furniture from IKEA assembled without instructions, and watches the sun rise over Boston Harbor through her single window. The text message is deleted, but burned into her memory. Captain Chen. It's been a long time. No one's called her captain in 12 years. She left that rank in a tent in Kandahar, along with too many other things she can't retrieve. Her phone sits on the coffee table, silent now. She hasn't touched it since arriving home. The smart thing would be to ignore it. Morrison reaching out after more than a decade means complications, the kind she specifically rebuilt her life to avoid. But Morrison doesn't make contact without reason, and if he found her, others can too. Sarah stands, moves to the kitchen, makes coffee. The ritual helps. Boil water, grind beans, pour, wait. The smell fills the small space, almost enough to feel like comfort. She drinks it black, always has. Her watch reads 6:47 a.m. Next shift starts at 7 p.m. 13 hours to pretend she's a person who sleeps, who has hobbies, who exists beyond the hospital walls. She showers, dresses, jeans again, hoodie, running shoes, goes for a run. The Charles River path is crowded with morning people. Joggers, cyclists, people walking dogs with expensive leashes. Everyone performing the theater of normal life, unaware how fragile it all is. Sarah runs at a steady pace, 7-minute miles, breathing controlled. Her body remembers the rhythm. The army taught her to run with a full pack in 110-degree heat. This is nothing. Mile 3, her phone buzzes. She stops, checks it. Another unknown number. Different from Morrison's. Text message. Dr. Chen, this is Patricia Kim from St. Catherine's. You need to come in immediately. There's been an incident. Sarah's stomach drops. She calls the number. Patricia answers on the first ring. Chen, what happened? Can't discuss over phone. How fast can you get here? 20 minutes. Make it 10. The line goes dead. Sarah doesn't hesitate. Turns, sprints back toward her apartment. Full speed. The morning joggers blur past. Her lungs burn, but she doesn't slow, doesn't stop. 8 minutes, she's in her car. 12 minutes, she's pulling into the hospital garage. 14 minutes, she's through the ED doors. The energy is wrong. Too quiet, too still. Like the moment after an explosion, before the screaming starts. Patricia meets her at the entrance. Her face is gray, aged 10 years since last night. What happened? Sarah asks. The kid, from last night. The tension pneumo. Sarah's heart rate spikes. What about him? He coded 20 minutes ago. Vasquez and Webb worked him for 30 minutes straight. They called it at 6:52. No, that's impossible. He was stable. The chest tube was in. His vitals crashed. No warning. They think pulmonary embolism. But Sarah, that's not why I called you. Then why? His family is here. They're asking for you specifically. Me? They don't even know me. Apparently, one of the paramedics told them what you did, the needle decompression. They know you saved their son. And they know you're not supposed to be practicing medicine. Patricia's voice drops. There are 2 people from risk management here, and a hospital attorney. Sarah, this is bad. Where? Conference room B. Sarah walks. Doesn't run. Running implies guilt, implies fear, implies things she can't afford to show. The conference room is glass-walled. She can see them before she enters. A woman in her 40s, face destroyed by crying. A man, same age, holding her like she might shatter. Both still in the clothes they were wearing when they got the call, when their world ended. 2 suits, risk management, mid-50s, corporate smooth, here to protect the hospital from liability, not to care about dead teenagers. 1 more suit, younger, attorney. Already holding a tablet, probably recording everything, and Dr. Vasquez, standing apart from everyone, arms crossed, face unreadable. Sarah opens the door. Everyone turns. The mother moves first, stands, walks directly to Sarah. For a moment, Sarah thinks she's about to be hit, about to receive the grief-fueled rage she probably deserves. Instead, the woman hugs her. Tight, desperate, the kind of hug that's trying to hold a person together when everything else is falling apart. Thank you, the woman whispers against Sarah's shoulder. Thank you for saving my baby, even for a little while. Thank you for giving us time. Sarah stands rigid, doesn't know where to put her hands, eventually rests them on the woman's back, awkward and uncertain. I'm sorry for your loss, she says quietly. The woman pulls back, eyes red and swollen. They told us you're not even supposed to be a doctor right now. They said you risked everything to save Dylan. Dylan. The kid has a name now. Had a name. Ma'am, I just don't. The woman's voice hardens. Don't diminish it. My son was dying. No one else saw it. You did. You saved him. He got to say goodbye to us because of you. We got 6 more hours with our boy. The father steps forward. Older than Sarah initially thought. Maybe 50. Gray at the temples, eyes hollow. Dr. Chen, we know what happened. We know about your case. We know the board suspended you. One of the suits interrupts smoothly. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, perhaps we should all sit down and— Shut up, Mr. Patterson says without looking. I'm talking to the doctor who saved my son. The suit closes his mouth. Patterson continues. We've already spoken with our attorney. We're filing a formal complaint against this hospital for your treatment, and we're requesting a full review of your suspension. Sarah blinks. Mr. Patterson, you don't have to. Yes, we do. He looks at Vasquez. She's the best doctor in this building. Everyone knows it. And you have her sorting supplies like she's done something wrong when the only thing she's guilty of is being better than everyone else. Vasquez's expression doesn't change. Mr. Patterson, I understand you're grieving, but Dr. Chen violated protocol. She saved Dylan's life. And I'm grateful for that, truly. But the rules exist for a reason. The rules, Mrs. Patterson says quietly, almost killed our son 6 hours early. Silence. The attorney clears his throat. Perhaps we should discuss the hospital's position. The hospital's position, Mr. Patterson interrupts, is about to be named in a lawsuit if you don't reinstate Dr. Chen immediately. Sir, threatening legal action isn't productive. It's not a threat. It's a statement of fact. He turns back to Sarah. We want you to know. We're fighting for you, whether you want us to or not. Sarah doesn't know what to say. Mrs. Patterson touches her arm gently. You gave us time with our son. That's not nothing. That's everything. Her voice breaks on the last word. Sarah's chest tightens. I wish I could have done more. You did enough. You did what no one else could. The parents leave together, holding each other upright. The door closes behind them with a soft click that sounds too final. The suits turn to Sarah immediately, corporate mask sliding back into place. Dr. Chen, we need to discuss your actions last night. No, Vasquez interrupts. You need to leave. Dr. Vasquez, hospital policy requires. I said leave. I'll handle this. The suits exchange glances, exit without further argument. The attorney follows. Tablet clutched like a shield. Sarah and Vasquez, alone in the glass room. Vasquez walks to the window, looks out at the ED below. 30 seconds of silence stretch between them. Then, you're the best trauma surgeon I've ever seen. Sarah doesn't respond. I read your file. Before you came here. Your record at Mass General. your outcomes, your saves, statistically impossible numbers. I thought the data was wrong, that someone had made an error. It's not. I know. Vasquez turns. I also know about Kandahar. I know you were military. I know you served multiple deployments. And I know you don't talk about it, that you've scrubbed it from your professional history. Sarah's expression doesn't change, but something behind her eyes shifts. How? I have friends at Walter Reed. Your name came up in a conversation about advanced trauma protocols. They spoke about you like you were a legend. The surgeon who saved 200 lives in 1 year. The one who burned out and disappeared. I didn't disappear, I came home. And then you buried it. Changed your CV. Removed all reference to your service. Started over like that person never existed. She didn't. Except she does. She's standing in front of me right now. Sarah's jaw tightens. Why are you telling me this? Because I need to know who I'm working with. The board suspended you for a patient death that wasn't your fault. The real question is why you didn't fight it. Any other surgeon would have appealed immediately, demanded a formal review, brought in expert witnesses. You accepted the suspension in 48 hours. Why? I was tired of fighting. Bullshit. People like you don't get tired, you get strategic. Vasquez steps closer. What are you hiding, Sarah? Nothing that concerns this hospital. Everything about you concerns this hospital. You're a liability and an asset simultaneously. Last night you saved a life. You also committed a terminable offense. If you were anyone else, I'd have security escort you out. So do it. I can't. Because you were right. Dylan Patterson would have died in that bay if you hadn't intervened, and I missed it. I'm the attending. I'm responsible, and I missed it. Vasquez's voice cracks slightly, faux sign of emotion. I've been in attending for 11 years. I've never missed a tension pneumo. Never. But last night, I was overwhelmed, understaffed, distracted, and I missed it. Sarah says nothing. You didn't miss it. You saw it in 10 seconds from outside the room. Experience. No, instinct. The kind you build in war zones. The kind that doesn't come from Johns Hopkins or any civilian training program. Vasquez crosses her arms. I'm going to ask you one question. You don't have to answer, but I need to hear your voice when you don't. Okay. Did you kill anyone when you were deployed? Sarah's expression doesn't change, but something behind her eyes shifts, hardens into something cold and distant. I was a surgeon. I saved lives. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Vasquez nods slowly. Fair enough. She walks to the door, pauses with her hand on the handle. You're suspended pending the board review. But between you and me, if the Pattersons push their complaint, the board will fold. The optics are terrible. Grieving parents defending the suspended doctor who saved their son, the media will devour it. I don't want media attention. You won't have a choice. This story is too good. It's already spreading on social media. One of the nurses posted about it last night. Sarah closes her eyes. Of course they did. Give it 48 hours. This becomes national news or it disappears completely. Either way, your quiet life is over, Sarah. Vasquez leaves. Sarah stands alone in the conference room, surrounded by glass walls, feeling exposed from every angle. Through the window, she watches the ED. Nurses moving, doctors consulting, patients arriving on gurneys. The machine continues without her. She doesn't belong to it anymore. Maybe she never did. Her phone buzzes. Another. Her message. Morrison again. I see you made the news. We really need to talk. This is bigger than you think. J.M. Sarah stares at the screen, deletes the message, walks out of the hospital, gets in her car, drives. No destination, just motion. Because motion means she's still in control, still making decisions, still alive, even when everything else is falling apart. Sarah drives for 2 hours straight. No plan, no endpoint. Just north on I-95, windows down. Cold November air cutting through the car like a blade. Her phone buzzes 17 times. She ignores every notification. At a rest stop near the New Hampshire border, she finally pulls over. Gas station. Coffee that tastes like burnt plastic. Bathroom that smells worse. She sits at a picnic table outside, alone except for the highway noise. Checks her phone. 11 missed calls from the hospital. 3 from unknown numbers. 2 voicemails she won't listen to. 46 text messages, and 1 email. Subject line, you've been tagged in a video. She opens the email. Link to TikTok. The video is shaky. Phone footage from inside the ED. Last night. The timestamp reads 3:14 a.m. It's her, in Trauma Bay 3, standing over Dylan Patterson, the needle in her hand, poised above his chest. The audio is muffled, but you can hear Vasquez yelling, "Chen, step away from that patient." Then the needle going in. The hiss, the gasp, the monitor calming. The video cuts, text overlay. Suspended doctor saves dying teen. She risked her career for a stranger. 1.2 million views, 340,000 likes, 12,000 comments. Sarah scrolls through them, feeling detached, like she's reading about someone else. This is what real heroes look like. Why was she suspended? She's amazing. I would trust her with my life. Hospital administrators are cowards. Reinstate her now. And then, 3 comments from the bottom. One that makes her blood go cold. Wait, is this Captain Sarah Chen from the 274th Forward Surgical Team? Sarah clicks the profile. Army veteran, medic, deployed 2009 to 2011. Another comment, replying to the first. Holy shit. I think you're right. I served with her in Kandahar. She saved my life after an IED strike. This is absolutely her. Sarah closes the app. Her hands are shaking. She sets the phone down on the weathered picnic table. Breathes. 4 counts in. Holds 7. 8 counts out. It doesn't help. The phone rings. Unknown number. She answers without thinking. Dr. Chen? A man's voice. Deep. Authoritative. Familiar in a way that makes her spine straighten reflexively. Who is this? Major James Morrison. Though I think you already know that. Sarah closes her eyes. How did you get this number? Same way I found you in Boston. I have resources, Sarah. What do you want? To talk. In person. No. Sarah. It's Dr. Chen. And I'm not interested in whatever this is. You don't even know what this is. I know I left that life 12 years ago. I know I don't owe the Army anything. And I know that when you show up after 12 years of silence, it's because you want something I don't want to give. Silence on the line. 5 seconds. 10. Then Morrison. You're right. I want something. And you're not going to like it. But you'll do it anyway because, despite your best efforts to disappear, you're still the same person you were in Kandahar. You don't know who I am now. I know you just saved a kid's life with a needle and 30 seconds of courage. It wasn't courage. It was necessity. Same thing in our line of work. He pauses. I also know your video has 2 million views and counting. And I know that at least 6 people have publicly identified you as former military. That number's going to grow exponentially. So, Captain Chen, your cover's blown. The quiet civilian life you built, it's done. By tomorrow morning, every news outlet in the country will be investigating who you really are. And when they start digging, they're going to find things you don't want found. Sarah's jaw clenches. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You were part of classified operations. Your record is sealed. But seals break, Sarah. Especially when reporters start asking the right questions to the right people. Then unseal it. I have nothing to hide. Don't you? Silence stretches between them like a wound. Morrison continues, quieter now. Jalalabad, February 2010. Operation Copper Mountain. You remember? Sarah's throat tightens. She remembers. I'm done with this conversation. Sarah, wait. She hangs up. P. Sets the phone on the table. Stares at it like it's a live explosive. Jalalabad, February 2010. She hasn't thought about that mission in years. Actively worked to forget it, to bury it under layers of new memories, new traumas, new reasons to keep moving forward. Some things don't deserve remembering. Her phone rings again. Morrison. She declines. Rings again. Declines. Text message appears. I'm in Boston. Meet me. Tonight, 8 p.m. The Paramount on Charles Street. If you don't show, I'll assume you want me to go to the media first. Your choice. JM. Sarah reads it 3 times. Deletes it. Sits in silence at the rest stop, watching cars pass on the highway. People going places. Living normal lives. Unaware that the woman at the picnic table is coming apart at the seams. She checks the time. 2:37 p.m. 5 hours until the meeting she's absolutely not going to attend. She gets back in her car, drives south, back toward Boston, back toward everything she's been running from. Her apartment feels smaller when she opens the door, like the walls moved closer while she was gone, pressing in. She showers, changes, dark jeans, black sweater, boots. The kind of outfit that blends into crowds, that doesn't draw attention. Old habits from a different life. She makes food she doesn't eat, sits on the couch, turns on the TV, turns it off 30 seconds later, checks her phone. 6:15 p.m. The video is at 3.4 million views now. Local news has picked it up. Suspended Boston doctor hailed as hero after saving teen's life. Her name is everywhere. Her face. Her history. Well, part of her history, the sanitized version. Johns Hopkins, Mass General, trauma surgeon, wrongful suspension, no mention of Kandahar, not yet. But Morrison's right, it's coming. She stands, paces, 6 steps to the window, 6 steps back. The apartment isn't big enough to contain her restlessness. Her reflection in the glass looks like someone she used to know. Captain Sarah Chen, trauma surgeon, 274th Forward Surgical Team. The woman who saved 200 lives in 1 year. The woman who couldn't save them all. The woman who left because staying meant breaking completely, shattering into pieces too small to put back together. She checks her watch. 7:41 p.m. 19 minutes until the meeting. She's not going. She's absolutely not going. She grabs her jacket. The Paramount is a diner on Charles Street. Small, unassuming. The kind of place where no one looks twice at anyone. Where conversations disappear into the ambient noise. Sarah arrives at 8:03 p.m. Morrison is in a corner booth, back to the wall, facing the door. Still thinking tactically after all these years. Some habits never die. He's older, 53 now. Gray at the temples, lines around his eyes that weren't there in Kandahar. But still solid, still carrying himself like a man who's used to being obeyed without question. He sees her immediately, doesn't smile, just nods toward the seat across from him. Sarah walks over, doesn't sit. You've got 5 minutes. Sit down, Captain. I'm not a captain anymore. Sit down, Sarah. She sits, doesn't take off her jacket, doesn't settle in. Morrison slides a coffee across the table, black. Figured you still drink it like this. She doesn't touch it. 4 minutes. Morrison leans back, studies her with the careful assessment of someone who's seen her at her best and worst. You look good. Healthier than Kandahar. Kandahar wasn't known for its health benefits. No, it wasn't. He pauses. I heard about what happened, the malpractice case, the suspension. I'm sorry. You didn't come here to apologize. No, I came to offer you a job. Sarah almost laughs. You're joking. I don't joke about operations. I left the army. I'm not going back. This isn't army, not officially. Morrison leans forward. It's a civilian contract, private medical team, high-risk zones, disaster areas, places where the government can't officially operate, but people still need saving. So mercenary medicine, humanitarian medicine, with better funding and fewer restrictions than any NGO could dream of. And let me guess, you're recruiting because you need someone with my specific skill set. I need the best. You're the best I've ever seen. I was the best, 12 years ago. Now I'm a suspended trauma surgeon who can't even practice in a civilian hospital without causing an institutional crisis. Morrison's expression hardens. You saved a kid's life with a needle and 30 seconds. You haven't lost. Lost anything, Sarah. You're just pretending you have because it's easier than admitting what you really are. I'm not pretending. I'm surviving. Surviving isn't living. It's enough. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, you look like someone who's suffocating. Someone who's dying by inches in a life that's too small for who you actually are. Sarah's jaw clenches. You don't know anything about my life. I know you've been suspended for 4 months. I know you spend your shifts sorting supplies while people less qualified make life and death decisions. I know you go home to an empty apartment and don't sleep because the second you close your eyes, you're back in Kandahar, back in the tent, back in the place where you were most alive. Stop. I know you run every morning at 6 a.m. Same route, same pace, 7-minute miles, rain or shine. Because routine is control, and control is the only thing keeping you from falling apart completely. How do you? I told you. I have resources. Morrison's voice softened slightly. Sarah, I'm not here to drag you back into something you don't want. I'm here because I need you. People need you. And I think whether you'll admit it or not, you need this. You're wrong. Am I? Because that video of you saving Dylan Patterson, I've watched it 40 times. You know what I see? I see someone who's finally awake. For the first time in years. You weren't thinking. You were acting. Pure instinct. That's who you are, Sarah. That's who you've always been. Sarah looks away. Out the window. Charles Street. People. Walking past. Normal lives unfolding in real time. I can't, she says quietly. Why not? Because I left for a reason. What reason? She doesn't answer. Morrison waits. 30 seconds, a minute. Patient in a way most military officers never learn. Then, Jalalabad. Sarah's eyes snap back to him. Don't. We have to talk about it eventually. No, we don't. Sarah, I said no. Her voice is sharp, final. Whatever you think you know about what happened there, you don't. You weren't in that room. You didn't make that call. I did, and I've lived with it every single day since. Morrison nods slowly. Okay, we don't talk about Jalalabad, but I need an answer. Yes or no. Are you in? No. Think about it. I said no. Sarah. She stands. I'm done. With this conversation. With you. With all of it. Find someone else to save the world, Major. I'm out. She walks away. Behind her, Morrison's voice. The offer stands. When you change your mind, call me. Sarah doesn't turn around. Pushes through the door. Into the cold November air that feels like a slap. Her heart is racing. Hands shaking despite everything. She walks 3 blocks before she stops. Leans against a brick wall. Breathes. 4 counts in. Holds 7. 8 counts out. Her phone buzzes. Text message. Amy. Sarah. Where are you? The hospital is going insane. The Pattersons' complaint went public. The board is meeting tomorrow morning to review your case. You need to come in. Call me, please. Sarah stares at the screen. Another message. Unknown number. Captain Chen. My name is David Torres. We served together at Camp Bastion. 2011. I think you saved my life. I'm in Boston for work. I'd love to talk if you have time. Her stomach drops. Camp Bastion, 2011. Another ghost rising from the past she tried to bury. She doesn't respond. Starts walking again. No destination, just motion. Because if she stops moving, everything catches up. And she's not ready for that. Not yet. Sarah walks for 3 miles through Boston streets. Charles Street to Beacon Hill, down to the Common, through empty paths lit by street lamps that turn the frost into glittering dust. Her phone vibrates constantly. She ignores it, lets it buzz against her thigh like an insistent reminder of a world she's not ready to face. By the time she reaches Boston Harbor, it's 10:47 p.m. The water is black glass. City lights reflect in fractured gold across the surface. She sits on a bench, finally checks her phone. 63 messages. She scrolls through them mechanically, feeling nothing. Amy, calling her back to the hospital. Patricia, saying the same thing. 3 journalists requesting interviews. 5 messages from people claiming to have served with her. Some real, some not. All wanting something she can't give. And 1 from Dr. Vasquez. Sarah, the board meets at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I've been asked to testify. I'm going to tell them the truth. You saved a life. Be there. Fight for. Yourself, please. Evie. Sarah sets the phone down beside her, looks out at the water. The truth is, she doesn't know how to fight for herself anymore. She spent 15 years fighting for everyone else. Patients, soldiers, strangers bleeding out on tables in tents in deserts that didn't care whether they lived or died. She fought until there was nothing left to fight with. And then she walked away, built a small life, a quiet life. A life where she didn't have to make decisions that determined futures, that ended or extended lives with a single choice. Now that life is collapsing, and she doesn't know if she has the strength to build another one from the ruins. Her phone rings. Morrison. She almost declines, then doesn't, answers. I said no. Morrison's voice is calm. I know. I'm calling about something else. I'm not interested. There's been an incident, mass casualty event. Structural collapse. Apartment building in Dorchester. At least 40 people trapped. First responders are overwhelmed. Sarah's pulse quickens despite herself. Why are you telling me this? Because St. Catherine's is the primary trauma center. They're about to be flooded with criticals. And you're 3 miles away. I'm suspended, Morrison. I can't. Sarah, people are dying. Right now. While we're talking. And you're the best trauma surgeon in this city, suspended or not. He pauses. I'm not asking you to come work for me. I'm telling you there's an emergency. What you do with that information is your choice. The line goes dead. Sarah sits frozen on the bench. Hears sirens in the distance. Growing louder. Multiple units responding. She closes her eyes. Sees Dylan Patterson. The kid on the gurney. The needle in her hand. Sees Tennessee. The soldier she couldn't save. Sees all the faces. all the ones who lived because she refused to quit. She stands, runs to her car. St. Catherine's emergency department is chaos when she arrives. Sarah pushes through the doors at 11:23 p.m. The trauma bays are full. Gurneys line the hallways, blood on the floor, voices overlapping, alarms screaming from every direction. She scans the room with trained efficiency. Patricia sees her first. Chen, thank God, we need. I'm suspended. I can't practice. I don't care about that right now. Vasquez is in surgery. Webb's with a critical in Bay 2. We have 4 more incoming and no one to run them. Patricia, people are dying, Sarah. Patricia's voice drops, raw, desperate. Please. Sarah looks past her, sees a gurney coming through the doors. Woman, 40s, crush injury, chest compressed, blood everywhere, painting her clothes dark. Paramedic shouting over the noise. BP 60/30, RESPs 35, GCS 6, massive internal bleeding, suspected liver lack. The gurney passes. No one takes it. Everyone's occupied with their own disasters. Sarah watches it roll toward an empty bay. Watches the woman's chest rise and fall. Too fast, too shallow. Compensating. Watches her die in real time, and no one's even touching her yet. Sarah moves. Get her to Bay 4. Patricia's eyes widen. Sarah, Bay 4. Now. Sarah's already moving. Strips off her jacket. Grabs a trauma gown from the supply rack. Pulls it on while walking. Muscle memory guiding her hands. Gloves. Snapped on without breaking stride. She reaches Bay 4 as they're transferring the patient. Talk to me, Sarah says. The paramedic, young and exhausted. Rebecca Marsh, 43. Apartment collapse. Found under concrete beam. Chest and abdomen crushed. We intubated in the field, but she's deteriorating fast. Sarah's hands are already assessing. Chest rise uneven. Breath sounds absent on the right. Abdomen rigid, distended. Tension pneumo and internal bleed. Someone page surgery. A nurse. They're all occupied. Then page them again. I need chest tube tray, 2 large bore IVs, 4 units ONEG, and an OR prepped now. Dr. Chen, you can't. Sarah's voice cuts like a scalpel. I'm not debating. Get me what I need or she's dead in 3 minutes. The nurse runs. Sarah works with focused precision. Finds landmarks. Second intercostal space. Preps the site. Scalpel appears in her hand. She doesn't remember who gave it to her. Incision. Clean. Precise. No hesitation. She forces the tube through tissue, through pleura, into the chest cavity. Blood pours out. Dark. Venous. Too much blood. Not enough air escaping. Wrong ratio. She's bleeding into her chest. We need surgery now. Amy appears beside her, breathless. OR3 is clearing. 2. Oh, minutes. She doesn't have 2 minutes. Sarah checks the monitor. BP 50/20. Heart rate 160 and climbing. Dying. She looks at the woman's face. Someone's wife, mother, daughter. Someone who woke up this morning not knowing this would be the day. Not today. Get me a thoracotomy tray. Amy freezes. Sarah, you can't do a thoracotomy in the ED without. Tray. Now. Amy hesitates 1 second. Runs. Sarah preps the chest. Betadine. Fast swipes. No time for sterile technique. The tray arrives. She takes the scalpel with steady hands. Sarah, Amy's voice. Quiet. Scared. If you do this and she dies, you're done. Completely. Forever. If I don't do this, she dies anyway. Sarah makes the incision. Lateral. 5th intercostal space. Through skin. Through muscle. Through pleura. Rib spreader. She cranks it open with controlled force. The chest cavity blooms in front of her like a terrible flower. Blood. Everywhere. She suctions. Finds the source. Intercostal artery. Torn and pumping. Clamps it. The bleeding slows but doesn't stop. Her hands move inside the chest. Heart still beating. Weak. Thready. But beating. Get me 2 units of blood. Push them. And someone find me a surgeon who's not in an OR. Chen, what the hell are you doing? Dr. Webb. Standing at the entrance to the bay. Face white with shock or anger, or both. Sarah doesn't look up. Saving her life. You going to help or watch? Webb stares for 3 seconds. Then moves. What do you need? Take over pressure on this artery. I need to check for other bleeding. Webb steps in without another word. His hands replace hers on the clamp. Sarah explores the chest cavity. Finds a liver lack. Grade 3. Bleeding but controllable with pressure. Amy. Call surgery again. Tell them we're bringing an open thoracotomy with liver injury. They need to be ready. OR3 is ready now. Then let's move. They transfer her. Open chest. Clamps holding vessels. Blood still running despite their efforts. Sarah walks beside the gurney, hand on the rib spreader, maintaining tension, keeping the window open, into the elevator, up 3 floors, through the OR doors where the surgical team is waiting, gowned and ready. The surgical team takes over with practiced efficiency. Sarah steps back, blood on her gown, on her hands, on her face. She strips the gloves, walks out into the hallway, leans against the wall. Her hands are shaking now, not during, never during, only after, when the adrenaline drains and reality returns. Amy finds her 20 minutes later, still standing in the same spot. She's stable. The closing now. Surgeon says she'll make it. Sarah nods. Can't speak yet. Sarah, that was incredible. I've never seen anything like that. It's just trauma surgery. In an ED bay, without clearance, with half the equipment you needed. Amy sits beside her on the floor. Where did you learn to do that? Sarah doesn't answer. You saved her. You know that, right? No one else could have done what you just did. Someone had to. Yeah, you. Always you. They sit in silence for a moment. Then Amy. There are 3 more criticals downstairs, and Vasquez is still in surgery. Webb's overwhelmed. Sarah closes her eyes. Amy, I know, you're suspended. You could lose everything. Amy's voice softens. But there are people dying, and you're here. Sarah looks at her. Sees the question she's not asking. What are you going to do? Sarah stands. Let's go. The next 4 hours blur into a continuous stream of trauma and decision. Patient after patient. Crush injuries. Fractures. Internal bleeding. Head trauma. The kind of mass casualty event that breaks most emergency departments. Sarah moves between bays like water. Fluid and instinctive. Her hands know what to do before her brain catches up. Muscle memory from deployments where hesitation meant death. She doesn't think about the board, about her suspension, about Morrison or Jalalabad or any of the ghosts chasing her. She just works. At 3:47 a.m., the last critical is stabilized and transferred to the ICU. Sarah stands in the middle of the ED, gown soaked through, hair falling out of its tie, exhausted in a way that feels almost spiritual. Patricia approaches slowly. All criticals stable, no deaths tonight. Sarah nods, can barely process the words. Sarah, Patricia's voice is different now, soft, almost reverent. You saved 11 people tonight. 11. Some of them would have died without you here. They would have been fine. No, they wouldn't. Patricia. Ia looks her directly in the eye. I've been a nurse for 32 years. I've worked with hundreds of doctors. You're different. You see things others don't. You move faster, think clearer, and you don't quit, ever. Sarah doesn't know what to say to that. Patricia continues. The board meets in 5 hours. I'm testifying. So is Amy. So are 6 other nurses who worked with you tonight. We're all going to say the same thing. This hospital needs you. And if they don't reinstate you, they're making the biggest mistake of their institutional lives. Patricia, you don't have to. Yes, we do. She squeezes Sarah's shoulder gently. Go home, shower, get 2 hours of sleep, then come back and fight for yourself. You fought for everyone else. Now it's your turn. Sarah drives home as the sun rises over Boston. The city is waking. Joggers, commuters, coffee shops opening. The world turning like nothing happened. Like 11 people didn't almost die in the night. She parks, walks up to her apartment, opens the door. Her phone rings immediately. Morrison. She answers, too tired to resist. I heard what you did tonight, he says without preamble. How do you already know? I told you, resources. He pauses. 11 saves, in 4 hours. That's impressive even for you. What do you want, Morrison? To repeat my offer. The team I'm building needs someone exactly like you. I'm not interested. Sarah, I have a board hearing in 4 hours. After that, I'll either have my license back or I won't. Either way, I'm staying here. This is my home. These are my people. I'm done running from who I am. Silence on the other end. Long enough that she thinks he might have hung up. Then Morrison, quieter. Good. That's the Sarah Chen I remember. The one who doesn't quit. Goodbye, Morrison. One more thing. That video of you? It's at 8 million views now. You're about to become very famous, whether you want to be or not. I'll deal with it. I know you will. Good luck with the board, Captain. He hangs up. Sarah sets the phone down, looks around her small apartment, her refuge for 4 months, her hiding place. She showers, changes into clean clothes, sets an alarm for 8 a.m., lies down on her bed, closes her eyes, and for the first time in months, she sleeps without dreaming, without nightmares, just deep, empty blackness that feels like mercy. The alarm goes off at 8 a.m. Sarah wakes instantly. Military training doesn't fade, even after 12 years. She dresses carefully. Black slacks, white blouse, gray blazer, professional, neutral. The kind of outfit that says I'm serious without saying I'm desperate. She makes coffee, drinks it standing at the window, watching the city move below her. Her phone shows 247 unread messages. She doesn't open them. Not yet. At 8:35 a.m., she leaves for the hospital. The drive takes 12 minutes. She parks in the same spot she's used for 4 months. Walks through the same doors. But everything feels different now. The nurses at the station look up when she passes. Not with pity anymore. With something else. Respect. Amy catches her near the elevators, slightly out of breath. You came. I said I would. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to get fired. Amy shakes her head firmly. You saved 11 people last night. They can't fire you after that. Watch them. The elevator arrives. They ride to the 4th floor in silence. The administrative wing. Carpeted floors. Framed photos of hospital founders long dead. The smell of old money and institutional power. Conference room 4B. The sign outside reads, Medical Board Review. Dr. Sarah Chen, 9 a.m. Sarah stops outside the door. Through the window, she sees them. 8 people seated around a long table. Dr. Richard Brennan, Chief of Medicine, 67. Silver hair. The kind of doctor who chose administration over patients decades ago. Dr. Margaret Foster, Chief of Surgery, 53. Brilliant, ruthless, respected and feared in equal measure. 3 board members she doesn't recognize. The hospital's legal counsel, already looking bored. And Dr. Ellen Vasquez, the only one who might be on her side. Amy touches her arm. I'm testifying at 9:30. Patricia's after me. You're not alone in there. I know. Sarah. Amy's voice drops. Tell them the truth. All of it. Don't hide who you are anymore. Sarah looks at her. What if who I am isn't what they want? Then this hospital doesn't deserve you. The door opens. Dr. Brennan's assistant, a thin woman with a clipboard. Clipboard and tired eyes. Dr. Chen, they're ready for you. Sarah nods, takes a breath, walks in. The room is colder than it should be. Always is in these situations. Sarah takes the single chair facing the table. 8 people, staring at her like she's a specimen under glass. She sits, folds her hands, waits. Dr. Brennan speaks first, his voice measured and formal. Dr. Chen, thank you for coming. I was under the impression it wasn't optional. A flicker of annoyance crosses his face. This is a formal review of your suspension. We've reviewed the incident that led to your loss of surgical privileges 4 months ago. We've also reviewed the events of the past 72 hours. He opens a folder, reads without looking at her. 2 nights ago, you performed an emergency needle decompression on a patient named Dylan Patterson. You were explicitly instructed not to practice medicine during your suspension. Last night, you performed an emergency thoracotomy in the ED, along with 11 other interventions, again without clearance or authorization. He closes the folder, looks at her directly. Dr. Chen, do you understand the severity of these violations? I do. And yet you proceeded anyway. I did. Why? Sarah meets his eyes without flinching. Because people were dying. That's not your decision to make. You're suspended. You have no authority to make clinical decisions above the level of basic patient care. Then change the suspension. Dr. Foster leans forward, elbows on the table. It's not that simple, Dr. Chen. You were suspended for cause. A patient died under your care. The family filed a complaint. The board investigated and found that I followed protocol, Sarah interrupts quietly. The postoperative bleed was unforeseeable. The surgical team missed it during rounds. I missed it during my final check. But I wasn't negligent. The investigation cleared me of malpractice. And yet you accepted the suspension without appeal, Foster says, studying her. Why? Sarah hesitates. This is the moment. The question she knew was coming. The room waits in silence. Because I was tired. Of what? Of fighting. Of defending every decision. Of being questioned at every turn despite having better outcomes than most surgeons in this hospital. She pauses. I've been a trauma surgeon for 15 years. I've worked in some of the most difficult environments imaginable, and I'm good at it. I'm very good at it. But that doesn't matter here, because I'm not part of the club. I didn't train under the right people. I'm just the surgeon who gets called when no one else can handle it. And then when something inevitably goes wrong, I'm the one who takes the fall. The room is silent. Dr. Brennan's expression doesn't change. That's quite an accusation, Dr. Chen. It's the truth. Do you have evidence to support this claim? Do I need it? Everyone in this room knows how this hospital works. Politics over patience. Hierarchy over competence. Sarah leans forward slightly. You suspended me to protect the institution, not because I did something wrong, because it was easier to blame one person than admit the system failed. Vasquez clears her throat. If I may, I was the attending on duty the night of the original incident. I reviewed the case personally and extensively. Dr. Chen's surgical technique was flawless. The complication was genuinely unforeseeable. The suspension was procedural, not punitive. Foster turns to her. Then why didn't you advocate for Dr. Chen during the initial review? Because she asked me not to. All eyes turn to Sarah. Brennan, is that true? Sarah nods once. I accepted the suspension because I didn't want to fight anymore. I thought I could just disappear into the background. Do the work, stay invisible, stay safe. And now? Sarah looks around the table, at the 8 faces deciding her future. Now I realize that's not who I am. 6 months later, the trauma bay hums with controlled energy. A resident, Dr. Jamie Torres, 26 and 3 months into her rotation, stands over a patient. 18-year-old male, motorcycle accident, chest trauma, blood pressure dropping. She's panicking. Sarah can see it from across the room. The way her hands shake slightly, the way her eyes keep darting to the monitor instead of the patient. Sarah stands 5 feet back, watching, not intervening, not yet. Dr. Torres, breathe. Jamie's head snaps up. I can't find the bleed. Because you're not looking. You're panicking. Breathe. Reset. Reset. What do you actually see? Jamie forces herself to slow down, looks at the patient with fresh eyes, at the vitals, at the subtle signs, screaming answers if you know how to listen. Breath sounds diminished on the right, tracheal deviation, tension pneumo. Good, what do you do? Needle decompression. Second intercostal space, mid-clavicular line. So do it. Jamie's hands stop shaking. She finds the landmark with newfound confidence, inserts the needle. Clean, precise. Textbook execution. The hiss, the gasp. The monitor stabilizes immediately. Jamie exhales like she's been holding her breath for hours. I did it. Yes, you did. Sarah steps forward. That's save number 3 this week. You're learning. I had a good teacher. You had desperation. That's better than any teacher. Sarah's training program has been running for 4 months now. 12 residents rotating through trauma. Learning to think under pressure. Learning to trust their instincts when protocols fail. Learning that the difference between life and death is often just refusing to give up. She runs them hard. Simulations at 3 a.m. High-stress scenarios with incomplete information. No room for excuses or second chances. Some quit after the first week. Some break under the pressure. The ones who stay become exceptional. Vasquez calls it Sarah's boot camp. Sarah calls it survival training. The board calls it controversial but effective, which is as close to approval as institutional medicine gets. The results speak for themselves. Trauma mortality down 23%. Resident confidence measurably higher. The program is attracting attention from medical schools across the country. Sarah doesn't care about the attention or the accolades. She cares about the saves. Only the saves. On a Thursday in May, Sarah gets a call during her lunch break. Unknown number. She almost ignores it, then answers anyway. Dr. Chen? A woman's voice, young, hesitant. Speaking. This is Emily Patterson, Dylan's sister. I don't know if you remember. I remember. Sarah's chest tightens. How are you doing? I'm okay. We're okay. It's been hard, really hard, but we're managing. A pause. I'm calling because I'm starting medical school in the fall. Boston University. And I wanted you to know that you're the reason why. Sarah stops walking. Stands frozen in the hospital corridor. What? I watched you save my brother that night. I saw what you did. How you didn't give up, even when everyone said it was too late. You gave us 6 more hours with him. 6 hours we wouldn't have had. Her voice wavers. You showed me what doctors should be, what medicine should be. I want to be like you. Sarah doesn't know what to say. Her throat is tight. Dylan talked about becoming a teacher. He wanted to help people. I can't do that for him anymore. But I can do this. I can learn to save people the way you did. Emily, I'm honored, truly. But you should know, medicine is hard. It breaks you in ways you can't anticipate. I know. My parents told me what you went through. The suspension, the board, all of it. Emily's voice strengthens. But you didn't quit, even when it would have been easier. That's what I want to learn. Not just the medicine, the strength to keep going. They talk for 20 minutes. Sarah gives her advice about medical school, about surviving the hardest years, about holding on to the reason you started when everything tries to make you forget. When they hang up, Sarah stands in the empty corridor for a long moment. Dylan Patterson died 6 months ago. But maybe, in some way, he's still saving lives. That evening, Sarah finds Vasquez in her office reviewing charts. You have a minute? Sarah asks. For you, always. Come in. Sarah sits across from her. I got a call today. From Dylan Patterson's sister. She's going to medical school because of what happened that night. Vasquez looks up, genuine surprise on her face. That's incredible. It is, but it also made me think about something. Sarah pauses. I want to expand the training program, not just residents, medical students, high school students interested in medicine. I want to teach them young, before the system breaks them into acceptable shapes. That's ambitious. The board will push back on using hospital resources for. I'm not asking the hospital to fund it. I'll do it myself. Use my own time, my own money if necessary. Sarah leans forward. Ellen, I spent 6 years in a war zone, learning that the difference between who lives and who dies often comes down to one person refusing to quit. I want to teach that, not as a technique, as a philosophy. Vasquez studies her carefully. You've changed. Since the board reinstated you, you're different. I stopped hiding. No, you stopped running. Vasquez closes her chart. Okay, write up a proposal. I'll present it to the board. But Sarah, this is going to put a target on your back. People don't like change, especially change that implies they've been doing it wrong. I know, and you're doing it anyway. I am. Vasquez smiles. Good. The hospital needs more doctors who are willing to burn bridges if it means saving lives. 2 weeks later, Sarah is leaving the hospital after a double shift when she sees him. Morrison, standing by her car in the parking garage. She stops, considers turning around, doesn't, walks over. You're persistent, she says. It's one of my better qualities. He looks older somehow, tired. I'm leaving tomorrow, back overseas, final deployment before I retire. Congratulations. I wanted to say goodbye, and to tell you I'm proud of what you've built here. The training program, your reinstatement, all of it. Sarah crosses her arms. You came all this way to say goodbye? I came to give you this. He hands her a folder. Inside are contact details for 3 civilian medical organizations doing humanitarian work. No military involvement, no government contracts. Just doctors helping people in places no one else will go. Sarah doesn't take the folder. Morrison, I told you. I know, you're not interested. You've found your place here. He sets the folder on her car hood. But if you ever change your mind, if this life ever feels too small again, those organizations would be lucky to have you. No pressure, no expectation, just options. He starts to walk away, then stops. Sarah, what happened in Jalalabad wasn't your fault. You know that, right? Sarah's jaw tightens. You don't know what happened. I read the report, all of it, including the classified sections. He turns to face her. You made an impossible choice in an impossible situation. 20 people lived because of what you did. The fact that 3 died doesn't make you a failure. It makes you human. Those 3 people had families, had futures. So did the 20 you saved. You can't carry all of them, Sarah. At some point, you have to put down the weight. He walks away before she can respond. Sarah stands alone in the parking garage, looking at the folder on her car hood. She doesn't open it, but she doesn't throw it away either. 3 months later, Sarah is running the morning simulation for her residents when her phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number. She ignores it. focuses on the scenario. Multiple trauma, limited resources, teaching them to prioritize, to make the hard calls, to live with the consequences. After the simulation ends and the residents file out, exhausted and exhilarated, she checks her phone. The message is from Emily Patterson. Dr. Chen, just finished my first week of medical school. It's harder than I expected. But every time I want to quit, I remember that night. I remember you didn't quit. Thank you for showing me what's possible. I won't let you down. Sarah reads it 3 times, responds simply, "You've already made me proud. Keep going." She walks to the window overlooking the ED, watches the organized chaos below. Doctors and nurses moving with purpose, patients arriving, patients leaving. The endless cycle of crisis and resolution. This is her place now. Not a hiding spot, not a refuge. Home. Her phone rings. Amy. Sarah, we've got a multi-vehicle collision coming in. ETA 3 minutes. Vasquez is asking for you. On my way. She heads for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Feeling the familiar surge of adrenaline and focus. This is what she does. This is who she is. Dr. Sarah Chen, trauma surgeon, teacher. Someone who refused to let her past define her future. Someone who learned that the bravest thing you can do isn't saving lives under fire in a desert war zone. It's choosing to save lives every single day in a world that makes it easier not to care. She pushes through the ED doors. The ambulance is arriving, lights flashing, sirens wailing. Her team assembles around her. Residents she's trained, nurses who trust her, doctors who respect her. They're ready, so is she. The doors burst open. She moves forward, not running from her past anymore, running toward the person she was always meant to become.